Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
PD Beats here from Popternative, wishing everyone a happy holidays and a happy new year as well. It is time for our tradition. It is our annual World Junior preview show with our friend Craig Button from TSN. It's always good to see you, and it's that time of year again. It's the World Juniors.
It is the World Juniors, but I have a big question.
Yes, sir.
I had one request. Before coming on.
Belly Button, welcome to the show.
No, that's you. You like to put all kinds of different monikers on people. The Dashing Dane for Nikolai Ehlers, Timo Time for Timo Meyer. What did you call Connor Garland? The
hockey cat.
The hockey cat. So, Belly Button. There you go. But it's holiday tradition. Where's my eggnog? I asked for eggnog.
I apologize. Do you still? You didn't get the eggnog, but you got the mug, right? You do have a Popternative mug.
I do have a Popternative.
It's empty, but you know what, Craig? This is the fifth World Junior preview show on Popternative. This is an anniversary, so it is a special occasion. We have obviously a traditional format. Last year we had pretty big show. I don't know if with a lot of that was, and for the behind the scenes that you could relate to with TSN and everything, we were on the clock for that. They were coming in and out. That was pretty intimidating.
I'll tell you what, the way you put that together, the way you orchestrated it, the way you managed it, and first and foremost, your ability to connect with the players, and then their warmth and their generosity of giving you that time. That speaks volumes about you, Petey.
I appreciate that.
And from Matthew Joseph to Julian Gauthier to Thomas Chabot, they're wonderful, wonderful people. First and foremost,
it was great. No, but it was just quick because you were doing some pre-tournament stuff, and you had there was a broadcast game you were broadcasting, and it was just we really had to get them in. And Joe Valeno was there. It was awesome. But always storylines. Obviously, Canada, always one of the favorites. On paper, just with a lot of the players, a lot of pro experience, a lot of players like Owen Power who have played and won gold in the senior level. It's just going to be an amazing Team Canada this year.
Yeah, and every year, affords you a different group of players to select from, right?
Yep.
Last year's team had a phenomenal tournament. And, going into the gold medal game, they had not shown any type of vulnerability in their game. And I'm not saying they did in that gold medal game. The U.S. played a terrific game. They had a very good group of players on that team, and they ended up winning. But this year's team is going to be different. Just like next year's team will be different than this year's team. But this team is, from the net to, you talk about Owen Power, Caden Gooley, when you can start with those two defensemen on your blue line, right? You know what I call them? I call them comfort food for the coaches. Because, when you put them out on the ice, nothing bad's going to go happen when they're out there. And then up front, I'll tell you what, this forward group has something that the forward group on Canada last year didn't have, and that's some edge.
Yep.
Some edge. Ridley Gregg, Mason McTavish, Jake Neighbors, Elliot Desnoyers, they got some edge.
Yeah.
And that gives you some advantages in a different area of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I know some of them, it's a few games here and there, but does the pro experience stand out a little bit as well? Because you have some guys on this team. You have a handful of guys that have played pro hockey games.
Listen, what I would say is that it doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
You've played against, better, higher, competition. The other thing I think it helps the players that have played in pro is how often do you hear the word details?
Yep.
And, as you move up the levels, the details matter. And the details matter in this level of tournament. And the fact that they were part of that and playing NHL games where, the smallest mistake can lead to something that goes negative for your team. Yep. I think that awareness. So when Dave Cameron or the coaching staff talk about details, Mason McTavish, he's got it. Owen Power, he's got it. Cole Perfetti, he's got it. Donovan Sabrango, he's like, they got it. And I think there's no way it won't help. And, because of that reason, it's not so much, they all have skill. We all know how good they are skill-wise. This is about understanding that it's not just about the skill. You got to put the details into place as well.
Absolutely. A lot of past Popternative guests are on this year's team. Just friends of the show. I just wanted you to talk quickly about two players that I think are going to kind of go back to all the grit that you talked about and everything. Logan Stankoven and Justin Sarudev. How are those two going to be in this tournament for you for Team Canada?
Well, Justin, they have him playing on a line with Ridley Gregg and Jake Neighbors. So I talked about Jake and Ridley having edge. Well, Justin's a competitor. Justin, to me, has, like a lot of players, like most players, not like a lot, most players, they need time to physically mature. And as they physically mature, that confidence level goes up and they assert themselves in different ways because they're more confident in asserting themselves. Justin's smart, he's competitive, he's got skill. I've looked at him in this tournament as somebody at the same age and 19 coming into this tournament, has similarities in my view to Jordan Kyrou.
Yeah.
Jordan is playing exceptionally well. But it took Jordan some time to physically mature before he could be really comfortable. I think Justin, it's not just about what skills he has. He's really comfortable.
But he just seems like a guy that could do a lot as well. That's why it stands out to me.
Agree.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, Pete, like no question whatsoever. And I think that's why when you look at how they're trying to put together a team, it's not just about they can go down and look at the various players and go, oh, what's his stats? What's his stats? What's his stats? Right? It's about more than just stats. And when you say Justin can do a lot more than score, he certainly can. And it's not about a willingness. How many times you hear this? Oh, yeah, I'll do whatever they take. It's not about saying you'll do it. You got to embrace the role, and you got to do it well. It's not about just going out there. You got to do it. And Justin, no question, can do it. Hey, Logan's a big-time competitor. That's all I know. Logan's going to find a way to contribute some way. He can do it scoring.
He wants it, too. He wants it, right? Yeah.
Oh, he's got, like last year at the U18, and I know I heard some comparisons. I've watched Logan for a lot of years. Is that I heard a lot of comparisons to Brendan Gallagher. Yep. And, sometimes I get I find myself, I get caught up. Yeah, well, he's a little bit, but when they were comparing him to Brendan Gallagher, I think they were talking exactly what you were talking about. Yep. He just gives it. Yep. Whatever he has, he's giving you everything that he has. Yeah. That's Brendan Gallagher. That's Logan Stankoven.
Absolutely. Yeah. Those they've been on the show, Sabrango, Neighbors, Perfetti, they've also been on the show as well. I always ask you this question. Well, obviously we talk about Team Canada. Some players to look out for on other teams, other countries, a couple of players. We always talk about this. Who are some players that, we should kind of pay attention to that aren't on Team Canada in the tournament?
Do you not have friends from other countries? Do you not have friends of the show from other countries?
Maybe not this tournament.
You're a worldly guy.
Yeah,
okay, you are worldly.
I just haven't had a chance to look into it. I'm sure there are, but I just haven't had a chance. I haven't seen the other teams yet.
You know what? Here's what I would say. So let's talk about. How about this? I got an idea. Okay, here's an idea. Yeah. Go country, and then go drafted or prospect, and then I'll jump into it.
All right, let's look at this. Let's look at some drafted players on Sweden.
Well, I think they got a huge boost getting Alexander Holtz from the New Jersey Devils. And, if you listen, Thomas Montan was not part of the group last year. He couldn't come over and coach. Mm-hmm. But you find out over time what Lucas Raymond and Alexander Holtz did in terms of leadership. This is Alex's third tournament. And just understanding what the tournament is about, we know how skilled he is. He's going to be a real good player there. And I think that for Sweden to be able to have that player there, it's wonderful. Jesper Wallstedt, top-notch goaltender. He's having another really, really solid year in the SHL with Luleå. Simon Edvinsson.
Yep.
I'll tell you what.
Of course.
The Red Wings are set up nicely. There's other good players in Sweden, but that's a trio of players that you can watch out.
How about some undrafted prospects from Russia who are always a contender every year?
Well, which one do you want me to? I mean, which one? Let's just start with Mishkov, right? The guy's unbelievable. Pete, we know how good Connor Bedard is, and I had somebody ask me this the other day. They go, after Connor Bedard for the 2023 draft, who are other guys that could go second? I said, whoa, we're going to stop that right here. If you think that Connor Bedard stands alone as the number one guy you're wrong. It's neck and neck between him and Mishkov. Yeah. Mishkov he reminds me of so much of Kucherov. So Kucherov is unbelievable. Mishkov last year at the U18 led the tournament in scoring. We know that Bedard was right up there, instrumental, and we know everything he did. Mishkov is unbelievable. I will say this. I watched the pre-tourney game between Russia and Canada, and I'm so unimpressed with Russia. Because I know this age group. I know all the players. I know them so well. You know what my concern is and what leaves me on? They don't know their own players. They left really good players off this lineup. Daniel Chaika, Yan Kuznetsov.
Yes.
They would be in their top four defensemen for sure. Danil Gushin, a dynamic offense, like so bad. And now I'm watching how they're using Danil Yurov. He's better than 8, 9 of your forwards, and you're using them like that. It just tells me they do not have an understanding of their player group.
Yeah,
Yurov is a Marian Hossa type player for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what I think he's like, and I don't know how they're not using him. And then they leave players off the roster. I mean, it's just not conducive to giving yourself the best chance to compete for the gold medal.
And last country I'm curious to know about drafted or prospects from the defending gold medal champions, the United States.
Why don't we just start in your backyard with Jake Sanderson? Bottom line is he's so good and he's so smooth, and he's good. He's a pillar on the USA blue line. He's a pillar on the North Dakota blue line. He's going to be a pillar on the Senators blue line for years to come. And he can play 30 minutes a game. We talk about Thomas Chabot and how efficient he is. By the way, did you notice my Team Canada could have been roster?
I saw it, yes.
Did you see who I had on it?
Yes. I saw that. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly.
Thomas has played so well, and he's such a top-notch player. And the way he took his game into he expanded his game into increased influence in so many different areas. Anyway, Jake Sanderson and him on the blue line, wow.
Well, we have to have these World Junior shows because Thomas eventually, if we didn't have these World Junior preview shows and the NHL draft shows, he might one day surpass you because I can't even, you are 1 and 2 with most appearances.
Well, listen. Thomas should be ahead of me, but if I'm just tailing him by a little bit, I'm okay with it.
We've been doing a lot of pop culture, so there's some pop culture people that are creeping in as well here and there. A couple more, I don't think anyone else has had more than 5 times. I think I have a couple of 3 or 4, but we'll see. But here's the question I'm really excited to ask you, Craig, and it has to do with Thomas Chabot. You've been in hockey for a long time. You've watched some of the best at many different levels. You know how hard of a tournament this is to play. You know this is the best at the age group. Does it excite you as someone who's been in hockey for such a long time when a player like Thomas Chabot or Trevor Zegras can go in where the stakes are so high and basically just do what they do and just dominate a single tournament? It's amazing to see.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's no other word for it. It's exciting.
Those two specifically they dominated those tournaments. It was their tournament.
Well, they were the MVP of the tournament.
Yeah.
Thomas is the only defenseman ever to be named MVP at the World Junior Tournament. The only defenseman ever. Think about all the top defensemen that played in the tournament. He's the only guy.
Yep.
Anyway, you look at, but for me, you know what's impressive for me? Is that having watched them since they were 16 years of age, and then watching how they progressed 16 to 17, 17 to 18, playing in the World Junior Tournament, then coming back as a 19-year-old and doing what they did en route to not only being top-notch players at the tournament, but you're talking about players that were so dominant in helping their teams. I mean, Trevor helped his team win the gold medal. Thomas, they lost in a shootout. Troy Terry was wonderful in that shootout. But
yes, he was.
Having watched them for that, I'm watching how committed they are. You don't get to be a first round draft pick by accident. You're talented, but their commitment and then how they go. It's a best on best tournament. It's the best players in that age group, and those guys were the best of the best. And so now I look at this year's tournament, I try to think, well, who could be in that category? And you start to go down and you start to say, hey, listen, Owen Power, obviously Kent Johnson, Jake Sanderson, right? You start to look, Matty Beniers, Alexander Holtz, like Matvey Michkov, like, you start to say, well, I am so excited every year about going and watching the tournament and the possibility for these top-notch players to just kind of rise a little bit above it.
Very quick question for you, and I know the answer to this because you've talked about this before. Did it irritate you a little bit to see the people on Twitter say that Connor Bedard and Matvey Michkov did not belong in this tournament because they're young?
Listen, one thing I've learned a long time ago, Pete, is that people can have opinions on social media. It doesn't bother me. I don't say it doesn't.
There was a lot more than I thought there was going to be about Connor Bedard, like a lot more.
I don't have to agree. I don't have to disagree. Everybody has can have an opinion, and as we see, it can go one way. And it could go the other way too in certain cases, but it doesn't bother me one bit. No. I mean, and it's part and parcel. The players are there. I mean, I was talking to somebody about Luke Hughes, and he had a tough night against Minnesota a few weeks ago, and people were just all over him. And then he's the first player to have a bad game, like. The Michkov and Bedard are the first players that somebody said, oh, they don't belong on the team. Listen, I've had to go through this. It's a cottage industry in Canada, U.S., other countries. Who didn't get named to a team? Mm-hmm. Oh, how did that guy make it? Right? Like, so it's all fair.
It's just such a rare thing, and it's just a rare thing that doesn't happen that much. Because, sometimes we talk about, 17-year-olds or 18-year-olds making the team, right? That's always happening. 60-year-olds.
Yeah, but it's rare. Like, Wayne Gretzky. Do you know the story behind Wayne Gretzky?
I think I've heard. I don't know. I think he was 16, right? Or 15?
16 years old.
Yeah, he was 16.
Tell you the quick story. So he was tearing it up in the OHL.
Yep.
Right? And, Ernie McLean, who was coaching the New Westminster Bruins, was going to be the coach.
Yep.
Right? And so they were having calls because, that was really the first selected team that represented Canada. It used to be represented by the Memorial Cup champions from the previous year. So that was the real first selected World Junior team. So they were talking about, in the calls and everything. And, Ernie McLean was coaching. He had some top-notch teams in New West. Anyway, they kept saying, you got to have him, you should have him. He goes, no. Billy Derlago broke his leg and couldn't participate in the tournament. So Wayne Gretzky now, they had to take him. They had to take him. And I can only tell you what Ernie McLean told me after. He goes, this is his words. Well, we had to take him now, but the 16-year-old kid, right? He goes, yeah. He goes, it wasn't. He goes, we saw what he did in the first game. It was really his first practice when we said, ooh, wow. And he led the tournament in scoring as a 16-year-old. So when people want to say no, let's just wait and see what happens. And,
because
one of the greatest players that's ever played the game.
Yeah. But I find it interesting, too. And I remember a lot of people were frustrated. When Connor McDavid was on Team Canada when he was 16, that was a tough tournament for Canada. Like, that wasn't like the deepest team. That was a tough tournament for Canada. And I believe some of the games he was like the 13th forward. He wasn't playing that much because they were always behind. And we all just wanted to see him play. We just wanted, it was the year before they won in Montreal and Toronto. We wanted to see him play. But it blows my mind that Connor Bedard is going to be a big part of Team Canada this year. This is my prediction. We'll see, but I think he's going to be a big part of the team.
Well, I don't disagree with you. You say about Connor. So Connor at the under-18 tournament in Sochi in 2013 dominated it. He was the best player. Canada won U18. He came back the next year. That tournament was in Malmo. And that's, I could blame my friend Brett Sutter for not playing him more, but I'm not going to do that. Brett's had a lot of success. And, I always say this, the coaches are going to play the players they think can help them win. And we can disagree or agree or whatnot. But, you're right. It wasn't a great tournament for Canada. But
no.
That's not. And then he comes back the next year in Toronto and they win the gold.
Yeah.
And all I can say is, let's wait and see. I agree with you. I think Connor Bedard's going to find a way to be a prominent player for Canada. And that's good. That's good that you have players that can be prominent. It doesn't matter what their age is, but, to suggest that he can't be that's why I tell you the Wayne Gretzky story.
Oh, absolutely.
New talent, and he knew, and he said, okay. I said, yeah, we can't. Oh, yeah. He goes, thankfully we did have him. Canada did not win the gold that tournament.
Yeah.
But Wayne Gretzky led the tournament in scoring.
It just blows my mind because this is the best on the best of all the players that are under 20 years old. And it's just for players that are 16 to come in. I still think, I remember watching Lawson Krause the year that Team Canada, like Connor McDavid. Yeah. Lawson Krause was young as well playing on that team. And came in there, had a nice role and everything. He was 1 year younger. I think he was 17 or 18, I think. He was 17, right?
He was in his draft year.
Yeah, he was in his draft year. So that always excites me. Before we wrap up, we always do this, predictions. What do you think is going to happen this year?
Well, first and foremost, I want to say, it's a different type of tournament this year.
Yeah, absolutely.
With what's going on with the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
So,
and I wanted to thank you recently. By the way, sorry to interrupt. It's very important. I wanted to thank you for the comments you made in regards to recent comments from a National Hockey League player about it being overkill for the league to be on pause. Because I just wanted to tell you that thank you for the comments you made about that. I really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, thank you. And again,
you know where I'm going with that.
Viewpoints.
Yeah,
I do. I certainly do. I mean, your dad's on the front lines of COVID, and he's a big part of helping lead the effort in Ontario. So, and not only your father, who I know, but friends, and I got all kinds of friends. My youngest brother's a doctor. So, it's just, it's comments that, I do, again, and I was really happy with what I said is that it's not that Connor Hellebuck doesn't have a right to a thing. And I just said it's got an element of tone deafness. I didn't say he was tone deaf. I said it's got an element of tone deaf. Let's just think about that. So I think everybody's trying to minimize the risk to the greatest extent possible. The protocols that are in place, they're trying to allow the tournament to unfold and have the young players play. And so that's the first thing when I say I hope that can ultimately be the outcome come January 5th. And I'm an optimist. I think it can be. Now as for the tournament, razor thin, paper thin edge to Canada, and maybe on paper. I think they have a lot going for them. The USA is going to be a good team.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have no doubt about it.
They're fun to watch. I love watching the United States in this tournament every year, Craig. I love watching them.
But they're going to miss Thomas Bordeleau. Bordeleau. A lot of people aren't talking about Thomas. That's a real significant absence for Team USA. Is it one where it prevents them from competing for the gold? No, not at all. Quite frankly, I think it's 50-50. My 50-50 is Canada versus USA in the gold medal game. And I might have it 50.1 right now for Canada and 49.9, but it's 50-50. I think that's my gold medal game prediction. Mm-hmm. I think Sweden, with some of the pressure off of them, good goaltending. I think their defense will be real steady and real solid. They got scoring wingers, and I think their power play can be the difference in terms of getting them on the right side of games. So I see Sweden being in the medal round, and depending on how things swing out, that leaves either Russia or Finland. And
Finland in this tournament, they've worked. I don't like Finland in this tournament are always a problem for any team they play any day of the year. Yeah,
they are, and we saw it in the pre-tourney game, Pete. Is that the USA took that game over like they were down 1-0. They didn't have a shot on goal, and the first 8-9 minutes of the game, and then they took the game over, and the Finns didn't even have a foot in the game, and then you get the 5-minute major to Red Savage, and then they score 3 goals, including the winner in overtime. That's what the Finns do. If you want to give life to the Finns, guess what? Mm-hmm. They're going to take it. Like, one of the things when you're playing against the Finns, don't give them oxygen. No. Because if you give them oxygen, they're gonna take it, and they're gonna end up suffocating you. But Russia's interesting. Sergei Zubov, coach, has never coached at this level. I think they left some good players off the roster that would help them, but they still have some talent. And not they don't have some talent; they have some really good talent. But will it be enough in the tournament? But I see Canada, USA, and ultimately, Pete, I see Canada, winning the gold medal on home ice this
absolutely. Craig, always a pleasure having you on Popternative. And like I said, 5th year we've done this Popternative World Junior Preview Show, and I'm forever grateful for everything you've done for me in my career in the broadcasting and in the hockey stuff as well. So thank you very much, and I wish you and your family a happy holidays, safe holiday season as well.
Well, I wish you the same in terms of the holiday season, and embrace your loved ones and your family and your friends, and especially your mom and dad, and nothing but the very best in the new year. And Pete, one of the things I cherish a lot of things in my life, but the friendship that we have, I really truly cherish. So thank you.
I do as well. Thank you very much. This has been Popternative, youtube.com/Popternative for previous episodes. Stay safe, enjoy the World Juniors, and happy holidays. This is Craig Button and PD Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.